going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, Breece Hall said what? He was talking about the latest trade rumors that were around his name this NFL offseason. Actually gave a pretty damn good answer, so we'll break that down. Then also Josh Reynolds. It's looking like he's a lock-in to be the wide receiver 2 for this offense. So who will be wide receiver 3? We'll talk about all this and more on today's show. But before we start, let me know your thoughts on this. Which player made you fall in love with the New York Jets? I want you guys to imagine you're a kid watching this football team for the first time, and you're like, that's my guy. That was my favorite player. So you guys please get creative with this and let me know which player made you fall in love with the Jets. All right, let's break it down. So Breece Hall, he was asked a lot of questions, honestly, this entire offseason about the latest trade rumors. It was pretty heavily reported, mainly before the NFL draft, that at least the Jets would entertain this, but obviously nothing came to fruition. So Breece Hall was asked, how have you felt about, having your name in the latest NFL trade rumors? And this is what he had to say, saying, I'm not entitled to anything. I love that. I'm around a new GM, new coaches, and a lot of new faces. So for me, I got to prove that I'm the guy every day. I feel like I like my skill set. I'm a 3-down back and second to none to a lot of backs in the league. We have a great running back room, a lot of healthy competition. But my mentality is every day, I'm going to prove that I'm the best back on this roster and one of the best backs in the league. And I thought what Breece Hall said at the front of that quote about just saying this is a new GM, this is a new coach, and all of that, like this new front office has no loyalty to him. And that's a harsh reality for a lot of these guys on the roster. Like they would have some loyalty for Justin Fields, like a Josh Reynolds, and this 2025 draft class. But 24, 23, the previous years when they brought in some of these free agents, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, they have no loyalty towards them. So I like Breece Hall saying, I got to go out there and prove it every single day because these weren't the guys that drafted me. This is a completely new regime. And I overall just love this mentality from him, talking about, like, I got to prove, I'm the best running back on the roster instead of him being, taking more of an entitled approach where he would be saying, nah, like, I know I'm the best on this roster. Like, I should be getting the RB1 reps. Like, he's saying, no, I got to go earn it. So I love that mentality. And also him mentioning he is one of the better backs in the league. He wants to go prove that as well. So it seems like between the years, Breece Hall, has his head screwed on straight. So I love that. But also this, talking about his potential heading into the year. I know what I can do. I know the potential I have. But potential will only go so far. I want to be a finished product. I want to be able to say that I've done everything I wanted to do. And, I expect Breece Hall to have a monster season. And I actually love what he said about potential there. I had an old high school basketball coach. He would always say that potential is the worst word in all of sports. And I kind of looked at him a little, funny when he first said that. But it is true because potential is fake. Like, that means nothing. When somebody says you have potential, that means they're hoping that you could, eventually be that kind of final product, what Breece Hall was talking about. But you aren't that just yet. So I think he should have a monster year. And I would probably say that, like, the bar for a 2025 season for Breece is the 2023 season. I think what he did that season, honestly, if you could just replicate that for this year, I would probably take it. Fantastic stuff in the receiving game as well, just under 600 yards, but going over just under 1,000 yards that year. Like, I could see that kind of being the standard that he's going to set, but I could really see him also ripping off maybe 1,100-yard season where he's also having 500 in the receiving game as well. But I'm also very curious with Breece and Braylon Allen. Like, maybe Breece, both those years getting, a lot of carries. I wonder if this could be more of a 60-40 by committee. I don't think they would lean towards that. I would still assume that Breece Hall will be getting 70% of the, offensive snaps here, but also Tanner Engstrad and Aaron Glenn coming from Detroit. Like, they understand how valuable it is to keep those running backs healthy. What they did with Gibbs and Montgomery, both those guys weren't playing, as many reps as, like the Derrick Henrys or the Saquon Barkleys, but especially Jahmyr Gibbs. He was producing like he was getting that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but you guys make the call for me. Over under 1,100 yards for Breece Hall. Give me an O for over. Give me a U for under. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I'm going to kind of be negative here. I'm going to say he actually goes just under this, and I think it's more about the running back by committee that will happen. I'll probably say Breece Hall goes for just over 1,000, but just under 1,100. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. All right, let's talk about the wide receiver room here, and specifically Josh Reynolds. Is he a lock to be wide receiver 2? It sounded like it. At least the latest reports coming out from Jets minicamp are suggesting that to be the case. Now, we were originally saying this could be a huge battle for that wide receiver 2 spot, but it seems like Josh Reynolds has kind of emerged as that guy. And it was Rich Cimini saying Josh Reynolds is the clear-cut favorite for the wide receiver 2 job ahead of Allen Lazard, whose names will continue to circulate in trade rumors now that Rodgers had landed with the Steelers. If the Jets do decide to move Lazard, a big if, it probably wouldn't be until the end of the preseason, but only if they're comfortable with the receiver depth. And, that does make a lot of sense that Josh Reynolds and Allen Lazard, the veterans, are getting the nod at that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 battle. But I also thought that was interesting. Cimini saying if a Lazard trade does end up happening, it wouldn't be until the end of the preseason, because I'm sure the Jets front office is looking at this wide receiver room being like, we might need Allen Lazard to step in there, play the slot, because do they fully trust like an Arian Smith, Malachi Corley, Xavier Gibson? Maybe they could get those answers during the preseason, but this would probably be how the Jets wide receiver room looks week 1 of the season. You got obviously Garrett Wilson there, Josh Reynolds then at the wide receiver 2, and also why it makes sense for Josh Reynolds. One of the better run blocking wide receivers in the league. We know Aaron Glenn. That's going to be the bread and butter this season. We're running the football. We're playing good defense. And then I do think you can kind of start mixing in like the Arian Smiths, Corleys, and the Xavier Gibsons, even a guy like Tyler Johnson. But I think the real battle during training camp will be for that wide receiver 3 spot. And if I was Arian Smith, if I was Malachi Corley, even a Tyler Johnson, I'm looking at Allen Lazard being like, I'm going to go take your job and give the Jets front office a reason to trade you. And I think the X factor of this whole battle will be Arian Smith. Now, he was popping off during rookie minicamp and OTAs. He was dealing with an injury during, minicamp, so he wasn't able to, give the coaches as good of a look as he would have hoped so. But he's the X factor, because I could see him, with the just natural speed and the talent he has, and if, drops aren't an issue for him, he would be a tough guy to kind of keep off the football field. And are you going to go with a guy like Allen Lazard? I would probably say they would want to lean Arian Smith, but also a guy like Malachi Corley. And, it's, this guy needs to step up. It's like that type of season here in sports media. All the Bill Simmons listeners knows about that one. But, he's going to probably have to be that gadget guy that tries to crack the rotation. But, again, that could come in the preseason. Like, if he has, a 5-touch game and he goes for 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe that will give the Jets front office just a little bit of, security where they could go move off an Allen Lazard. But this is a guy you guys shouldn't sleep on. And maybe it's just because I saw Tyler Johnson, Minnesota highlights on my timeline a couple of days ago, but this guy's a hell of a wide receiver. He's that prototypical possession wide receiver. Honestly, a Minnesota connection here. He really does remind me of Adam Thielen. He's a super sound route runner. Now, I don't think he has the hands or the separation ability that Thielen did, but kind of a poor man's version of Adam Thielen. I see that in Tyler Johnson. So I could see him fighting even a little bit with Josh Reynolds. If there's any guy that I could see taking over that wide receiver 2 spot, it would be Tyler Johnson. But again, I think that's unlikely. He is also a very good run blocker as well. But I think it's going to be a hell of a battle. But let's just say these reports are true that Josh Reynolds is locked in to be wide receiver 2. Who do you guys think will be wide receiver 3? Drop a name down below in the comments section. If I had to guess it right now, I'm going to go Tyler Johnson. I think he'll end up starting as wide receiver 3 week 1 for the New York Jets. Also, hit that subscribe button on the way out if you guys have not already. We'll post a video around your New York Jets every single day this offseason. See you guys next time. As always, go Jets.